Hello, welcome to Drinks with Ron. I'm Ron, and I'm about to have Genesee Cream Ale number 6 for the day. Don't look so impressed. After Genesee number 3, there was like a 4-hour nap. This has been a long week, and yeah, some pizza and some cheap beer, and I was ready for bed. It's a cream ale. 30-pack, I'm paying like 13 bucks. Oh, hello, Ted Jansen. Not a bad price point. Basically, if I'm going to drink a beer, I don't want to drink some watery, friggin' Busch Light type thing. There better be some sort of flavor to it. I better know I drank a beer. I mean, what I'm normally drinking, like my home brews, I'll put it this way, the 6 Genesees that I've drank today would probably be about 2.5 of my County K ales. So it's not heavy lifting for me. That's like I'm saying, I don't want some watery Busch Light-esque beer. I want at least something with some flavor. If I'm going cheap beer, yeah, it's not bad. It's at 13 bucks. That's what I was drinking in the fall. It's my building things beer, is what I call it. I'm constructing something in the garage. Christ, Ted Jansen. Come on, dude. I try to buy Genesee. But I digress as I wrestle a chunk of plastic from a tiny, tiny dog. That's a rock, dude. Come on, man. Let's be more discerning, huh? Not just everything you find. How about that? Sound like I'm talking to some buddies at the bar. Christ. Don't just, anything you find doesn't just go in your mouth, alright, dude? Just whatever you wandered across, don't just grab at it because it's there, alright? Let's have some fucking taste. I think I've given that speech before. Anywho, yeah, I've been going over some old Drinks with Ron's. Fire them up on the Xbox, and really, dude, your tail's distracting as hell. Basically, I was going through them and watching a lot of them, taking notes on, you know, basically what alcohols I've tried, what stories I've told, and when the audio or video was very bad. I used a crappy camera for many years, and the autofocus would go in and out a lot, and it's impossible to watch. And a lot of them weren't real solid episodes. So I'm actually going through and making a lot of them private right now. Dude, you're not eating a fucking rock, man. Just look at that. It's gone. Can we move on? Okay. So, yeah. So the episode came off really poorly, but the stories were good. I'm making myself a little note to redo them. So I thought I would redo episode, I believe, number 60. It's about my buddy, Big Jim. Look, dude, this isn't working. Yeah, I did an episode and the camera was going in and out, and I just kind of lacked energy. It wasn't real great. And Jim deserves a better episode than that. So, yeah, he deserves an episode where a dog just fucking jumps on me the entire time. This is great TV right here. People love watching a tiny dog jump on a guy trying to talk, Ted Jansen. You got TV magic in you, dude. You should be a forking producer. Okay, let's try this again. So yeah, I started the episode off and I told this story that we were at my bachelor party, and Parker was telling old stories about me. The Reggie Roby story, which is in one of the early episodes. And then another story I'd completely forgotten about, the aftermath of the Reggie Roby, when I tried to go to work at like 5 p.m. the next day and was still so hungover that I couldn't keep anything down and literally ran away and puked in the middle of making a guy's sandwich. And after a while I realized, fuck, every story you have about me is me throwing up somewhere. And Big Jim chimed in and said, yeah, and every story you have about me is me pissing. And it turned out to be true. So I'll just back the whole thing up to the beginning. because that's the logical place to start, right? The beginning. That's, I believe, what that word means. Yeah, I think that's what that means. So, my buddy Zach had a place in La Crosse with like 4 other guys, big party house. It was nasty. Put it this way, when you stayed there, you slept with your shoes. You took your shoes off and you left them right by the bed. Because the second you got up in the morning, whether you're going to take a leak or whatever, you wanted your shoes on to walk through that house. They would have parties with a half barrel where beer would get spilled everywhere, all over the kitchen. The kitchen would, at the end of the party, the kitchen would be cleaner than when it started. The beer being spilled everywhere was an upgrade. So that just gives you a little idea. So I wasn't living in La Crosse, I was still living down here, and I'd go up there and party because, let's face it, you're 19, you gotta get the fuck out of here for a while, or you lose your mind. So I party up there, and then I eventually decided, well, I just need to go to La Crosse, because then we'll party all the time. So they moved out of this house. I moved in with a couple of the guys. But the house that they lived in the year before, of course, the next crew of like college freshmen moves in and makes it a party house. Ironically enough, I don't know if when they were moving in and moving out, they crisscrossed, met each other, and then ran into each other at classes later in the fall. But the guys, the 2 group of guys kind of end up meeting each other. So the next year I move up there and I'm partying at the same damn house, which was pretty cool. I mean, a whole different set of guys. But then my deal wound up becoming, the guys there end up having me, most of the time I DJ when I was there. Which by DJ I mean there was a boombox and a big like flip book of CDs, and I would go through and just fucking play shit. And that's kind of how I gained my party rep at the house. I was the guy that everybody had to come in and be like, "Who's playing this music, dude? You're awesome!" And they're like, Yeah, I know. So, hanging around, you'd see kind of the same, you'd see some of the same people week in, week out. And there's one big beardy dude wearing a Cubs hat. And I don't know if you know anything about Cubs fans, but it's kind of like, they're everywhere. So you could be in a bar, traveling, you can be 1,000 miles away from home. You run into some guy in a bar, he's wearing a Cubs hat. You are instantly friends. It's like I said, it's like the Masonic handshake in some goofy ring. It's you're in the club, and so I instantly knew, this big beardy guy drinking beer, he's all right. I'm gonna know this guy. So a couple of times they just go over and high five. Hey man, love the hat. You're all right. Some shit like that. And then, a little bit further down the road, I was visiting, was buying shit at the store. My roommate was a butcher. He used to like to butch. So I was going through the meat department and realized that, hey, that big beardy dude works in the same meat department as my roommate. So then the next party I go to, I'm like, hey dude, you work with, you're Zach's roommate, blah, blah, blah. So now Jim's hanging out at the house with us. Well, actually, I gotta back that up. Because before that, how all of us kind of came to be mega cool was I was taking a pizza delivery. It was like 8:45, 95.7 The Rock in La Crosse. Breaks the terrible news that Jim Varney, known as Ernest P. Worrell, had died. Big part of my childhood. I was a big fan of Ernest. Everything he did, all of his comedies. What the comedies stood for. And I was like, fuck, I gotta get to the liquor store. So I bolt to the liquor store, I get in there at like 5 to 9, I just buy the first thing that's like drinkable, that's not like ether, like kerosene alcohol. So I was like, what can I just pet? So I got blackberry brandy. I go back, punch out, finish up, rush to this party, and all night I'm going around with the bottle going, hey, you, sad day. Ernest P. Worrell died. You take a drink from the Ernest bottle. Oh, are you serious, Ernest? Oh, man. By the end, a lot of guys were probably like, I also liked Ernest. They didn't give 2 shits just because I had a free bottle of booze. But, right then I could tell who was cool. And Jim was one of the cool guys. And I said, found out he worked with my roommates. Then we started hanging out Monday nights, watching wrestling, drinking beers. But Jim's piss stories. The next year, Zach and I moved to a house and little front porchy area. I had the seats out of my old Ford Escort. They were little, and if you know anything about car seats, the legs are about this tall, so it sits right on the ground. So it was a normal-sized porch, but when you were in these car seats, you were sitting right about here. So you could kind of look over, you could see people walking down the sidewalk. They couldn't see you, so you could just sit down here and do, you know, whatever you wanted to do on a Saturday night, and nobody would be any the wiser. So we're sitting there, and you know, like I said, you see people coming and going all night, every direction. We're about 6-7 blocks from the main bar scene downtown. So one night we see this guy just fucking zigzaggy stumbling up the streets. We're like, okay, keep an eye on this fucking guy. Well, he starts stumbling up towards our house. I'm like, oh, alright, this is great, even better. Well, he starts stumbling right up to the porch. As he gets right up there, we realize it's Big Jim. Well, Jim's coming over. So we sit there and don't say anything and realize Jim's not coming over. Jim's taking a piss. So he has walked right up to the porch. He's got his back to Main Street. I mean, he's not 10 feet from the street. And he starts pissing. I said the wall's right about here. So we can see like this much of Jim's head. As he's just head down, bobbling around because he can't even hold steady, taking a leak. Can't see us. We can see him. So we're sitting there. Hey, Jim. Oh, hey, guys. It didn't startle him. I would have been like, holy shit! Pissed every... Nah, Jim. Hey, what you doing? Like, we got a bathroom, dude. Yeah, I said, Jim, what are you doing? Taking a leak? Like, well, yeah, we gathered. You want a beer? Because we clearly had to get Jim drunker. So we send him off, but the ultimate Jim peeing story. Year after that, I'm at my place like 9:30 on a Sunday morning. I get a call from my buddy Fulton. And he says, what the fuck happened to Jim last night? I'm like, dude, I don't know. This is before cell phone days. Like, I literally have no clue what you're talking about. So he proceeds to tell me they were downtown La Crosse, a bar called the Library. Huge picture window. And they're sitting at stools in the picture window, and he's, well, yeah, we're sitting there at the bar, and we see Jim come around stumbling. Thank you, Kenny. We see Jim come stumbling around the corner. And across the street is the Poonts, Poonts, Poonts bar. So, yeah, they're kind of watching the meat market, and Jim stumbles around the corner to this bar. Past that, there's like more of a hole-in-the-wall kind of locally bar. In between's a doorway that like goes up to some apartment or mad scientist laboratory, or I don't know what the fuck's up there. It's not really relevant. The point is, there's a recessed little doorway in between these two places. Jim turns right in on 4th Street and proceeds to start pissing. And 4th Street, if you know anything about La Crosse, I think it was like a Guinness World Record for bars consecutively. It is like literally 40 bars, 3rd and 4th Street. I mean, they're just literally 40 bars, one side and back. And everybody's there, college kids, locals, police officers. So Jim finishes up taking his leak, turns to walk away, and walks right into a cop. And my buddy says, yeah, so obviously they can't hear anything. So he says, we're looking and we see the cop say something to Jim, and you see Jim just go. And then the cop points down at the river of urine, just streaming down from the recessed doorway. And Jim's reply is, okay, you got me, basically. So yeah, they see the whole thing, cop gives him a ticket, away he goes. So then I have to call Jim, and like I said, this is back before cell phones and Twitter and instantaneous whatever. Jim, how the hell did you know about that? Like, Jim, you were on 4th Street taking a piss. Like, literally hundreds of people knew about that. It's just a matter that one of them happened to know me, that I knew you, and has my number, so it's like, oh boy. Good times with Jim. There's many I could tell. I could probably do another half hour, but I should just wrap this guy up now because we're at the 15-minute mark, and that's long for an episode of Drinks with Ron. So for Drinks with Ron, I'm Ron, signing off.